She didn't trust me, so I ended our relationship. My girlfriend and I had been together for 3 years, and I was planning to propose later this year. This wasn't a decision I had made lightly, it was something I had been building toward for months, if not years. The idea of marrying her wasn't just a passing thought, it was a vision I'd nurtured as our relationship deepened. I had been saving diligently for the perfect ring, even researching styles. I thought she would love something elegant but timeless, much like her personality. I'd spent late nights scrolling through online galleries, reading reviews, and imagining the look on her face when I finally knelt down on one knee. Quietly, I had begun looking into venues, considering places that would hold meaning for both of us. I even had casual conversations with her family to make sure I could give her the proposal she deserved. Our story wasn't one of whirlwind romance. We had known each other for 8 years before becoming a couple, and over the last 4 years, my feelings had grown from a warm affection to a deep, unwavering love. She wasn't just my girlfriend, she was my partner in every sense of the word. She was my best friend, the person I confided in when life felt overwhelming, and the one who brought joy into my everyday existence. We had our share of ups and downs, like any couple, but we always found a way to navigate challenges together. At least, that's what I believed. If there was one thing she knew about me, it was my stance on infidelity. Cheating was and is a line I cannot and will not cross, nor will I tolerate it in others. It's a value I've held steadfastly, one rooted in my past and the betrayals I've witnessed firsthand. A history shaped by betrayal. To understand my perspective, you have to understand where I come from. My family wasn't perfect. No family is, but I idolized my parents growing up. My mother was my rock, the one who always seemed to hold everything together. My father, though quiet and reserved, loved us deeply. I thought we were solid. That illusion shattered when I found out my mother had been unfaithful to my father. I was 18 at the time, old enough to understand what was happening, but still young enough to be devastated. The betrayal ripped through our family like a storm, leaving chaos in its wake. Seeing the pain in my father's eyes, the confusion in my siblings, and the broken trust that could never be fully mended changed something in me. I made a decision then and there. I wouldn't tolerate infidelity in my life, no matter who the betrayer was. It wasn't an easy decision. Cutting ties with my own mother was one of the hardest things I've ever done. People called me harsh, ungrateful, even heartless. But to me, it was about principles. If I couldn't trust someone, how could I keep them in my life? Years later, I faced a similar situation with my brother. He cheated on his wife, a woman I deeply respected. She had stood by him through thick and thin, only to be repaid with lies and betrayal. I confronted him about it, but his excuses fell on deaf ears. He made his choice, and I made mine. My girlfriend knew all of this. She had been by my side as I distanced myself from my mother and brother. She had seen me draw that line in the sand. I wasn't perfect, nor did I claim to be morally superior, but my convictions were clear. Enter Jess. Then there was Jess. Jess was my girlfriend's childhood best friend, and to say we didn't get along would be an understatement. Jess was everything I wasn't. She was impulsive, reckless, and utterly unbothered by notions of commitment or morality. I'd seen Jess in action. She would leave a bar with one man, only to return a few hours later with someone else. She bragged about her exploits like they were badges of honor, and she seemed to thrive on chaos. Her energy was infectious to some, but to me, it was toxic. What baffled me most was why my girlfriend, who was kind, thoughtful, and grounded, remained so close to someone like Jess. I knew they had a long history, they'd been friends since childhood, but their values couldn't have been more different. Early in our relationship, I voiced my concerns. I told my girlfriend that I wasn't comfortable with her going out alone with Jess, especially to bars or clubs. Jess's unpredictable behavior worried me, and I didn't want my girlfriend getting caught up in any of it. To my surprise, she didn't argue. Over the next 3 years, she and Jess only went out if I joined them or if they were part of a larger group. My girlfriend never stayed out late or gave me a reason to doubt her. She was always upfront about her plans and made me feel secure in our relationship. Still, Jess remained a wild card in my mind. The day everything changed this past Monday started like any other day. I woke up, went to work, and looked forward to coming home to my girlfriend. I imagined we'd spend a quiet evening together, maybe cook dinner, watch a movie, and catch up on each other's day. But when I walked into the living room, the scene I found stopped me in my tracks. My girlfriend was sitting on the couch, her face buried in her hands, tears streaming down her cheeks. Her sobs were audible, raw, and filled with a pain I couldn't immediately understand. My heart sank. I dropped my bag and rushed to her side. "Hey, what's wrong? Are you okay?" She didn't look at me. Instead, she pushed my hand away. When she finally spoke, her words hit me like a freight train. "How could you do this to me? You've destroyed my trust." I froze. I had no idea what she was talking about. "What? What do you mean? What happened?" She shook her head, her sobs intensifying. "I can't believe you'd betray me like this." Betray her? The accusation left me stunned. I felt like the ground had been ripped out from under me. "Please," I said, trying to stay calm. "Tell me what's going on. I don't understand." But she wouldn't or couldn't explain. Her words were a tangle of anger and hurt, but they lacked specifics. The more I tried to get answers, the more she pulled away. I sat there, helpless, watching the person I loved crumble before my eyes. Searching for answers in the days that followed, I replayed that moment over and over in my mind. What had happened? What could have caused such a dramatic shift in her behavior? I tried talking to her again, but she remained distant, her answers evasive. It was like a wall had gone up between us, one I couldn't break through. My mind spiraled with possibilities. Had someone told her something about me? Had Jess, who never seemed to like me, gotten into her ear? Or was this about something else entirely? The uncertainty was unbearable. I loved her, but the trust we'd built over 3 years now felt fragile, like it could shatter at any moment. I knew I needed answers. What I didn't know was whether I was prepared to hear them. It started as a normal evening. We were watching TV, sharing laughs over our favorite sitcom, when I noticed something was off. She wasn't laughing as much as she normally would, and her responses to my jokes were strained. I asked her if something was wrong, but she just shook her head. I didn't press her. Maybe she had a tough day at work or was just tired. But as the minutes passed, her silence became more noticeable. She wasn't even looking at the screen anymore. She was staring into space, her jaw tight, her hands fidgeting in her lap. Finally, I muted the TV and turned to her. "What's going on?" I asked. "You've been distant all night." At first, she didn't respond. She just sat there, as if debating whether to say anything at all. Then, after what felt like an eternity, she let out a shaky breath and told me what was on her mind. Jess had called her earlier that day. Jess, the one person in her life I could barely tolerate. Jess had claimed that she and I had been together a couple of nights ago. She didn't give many details, just enough to plant a seed of doubt in my girlfriend's mind. At first, I laughed, thinking it was some kind of twisted prank. Jess and I couldn't stand each other, and the idea that I'd spend any time with her, let alone cheat, was absurd. But when I saw the seriousness in my girlfriend's expression, the laughter died in my throat. I asked her the obvious questions. When did this supposedly happen? Where? What proof did Jess even give you? Her answers, or lack thereof, left me speechless. Jess hadn't given her any concrete details, and instead of questioning her further, my girlfriend had ended the call and spent the rest of the day stewing in suspicion. That hurt. After 4 years together, she didn't think to come to me first? I took a deep breath and looked her in the eyes. Do you really believe I'd cheat on you? And with Jess, of all people, someone I avoid like the plague? Her response was like a dagger to my chest. I don't believe you'd cheat, but I need to see your phone to be sure. The breaking point: trust is the foundation of any relationship. Without it, love doesn't stand a chance. She knew this about me. She knew how much I valued honesty and transparency. That's why her request cut so deeply. I didn't have anything to hide. I'd always been open with her about my day, my thoughts, even the stupid little things that didn't matter. But the fact that she needed to verify my loyalty after everything we'd been through, that was a line I couldn't ignore. Still, I didn't want to escalate things. Without a word, I pulled out my phone, unlocked it, and placed it on the couch in front of her. Then I went to grab my laptop, unlocked it, and set it down next to the phone. Here are my devices, I said, my voice steady. You've always been welcome to go through them, but if you do this now, we're done. I've never given you a reason to doubt me, and if you trust Jess's word over mine, there's no coming back from that. She hesitated, her eyes darting between me and the phone. I could see the internal conflict written all over her face. For a brief moment, I thought she might back down, apologize, and tell me she trusted me. But then, slowly, she picked up my phone and started scrolling. In that moment, something inside me shattered. 4 years of love, trust, and devotion drained away, leaving me hollow. I felt like I was staring at a stranger. The woman I thought I'd spend my life with was gone, replaced by someone who didn't believe in me when it mattered most. I stood up, walked to our bedroom, and started packing my things. I wasn't sure where I would go, but I knew I couldn't stay. Not after this. As I folded my clothes and stuffed them into a duffel bag, memories of our relationship flashed through my mind. The late-night conversations, the vacations, the times we'd supported each other through life's challenges. I'd thought we were solid, unbreakable. But trust is fragile. Once it's broken, it's nearly impossible to repair. About 10 minutes later, she walked into the room, her face streaked with tears. She told me she'd made a mistake, that she never should have listened to Jess. She swore she'd cut Jess out of her life and begged me to stay. Her words didn't move me. They felt like empty promises. She should have cut Jess out years ago, knowing how toxic and manipulative she was. This wasn't the first time Jess had tried to cause problems between us. Don't touch me, I said quietly when she reached for my arm. But she didn't listen. She dropped to her knees, clinging to my leg, crying and pleading for another chance. I'd never raised my voice at her before, but in that moment, something inside me snapped. Let me go, I shouted. The force of my words startled her. She released me, and I stepped back, looking at her one last time. Too little, too late, I said, my voice barely above a whisper. You should have cut her off years ago. And with that, I walked out the door. The fallout: I've been staying at my sister's place ever since. She's been understanding, giving me space to process everything. But my phone hasn't stopped buzzing. Her family, her friends, even some of mine have been calling and texting, trying to convince me I overreacted. It was just a simple request, they say. She was hurt and confused. You can't blame her for wanting reassurance. But it wasn't about the request. It was about what it represented. She didn't trust me when it mattered most. She let someone like Jess, a person she knew I couldn't stand, manipulate her into doubting me. She chose to believe the worst of me, despite everything I'd done to prove my loyalty and commitment. And that's what hurts the most. Reflection, I keep replaying the night in my head, wondering if I could have handled things differently. Should I have been more patient? Should I have stayed and tried to work things out? But every time I think about her picking up my phone, I feel that same hollow ache in my chest. It wasn't just a phone. It was a symbol of our relationship, a relationship built on trust, or so I thought. I still love her. Part of me wishes things could have turned out differently. But love isn't enough. Without trust, love becomes a battlefield of doubts and insecurities. Jess didn't ruin our relationship. My girlfriend did, by letting Jess's lies take root, by not coming to me first, by not believing in me. Moving forward now, I'm left to pick up the pieces of my life and figure out where to go from here. My sister has been a rock, reminding me that I deserve someone who trusts me without hesitation. But it's hard to let go of the future I'd envisioned with her. Maybe one day, I'll find a way to forgive her. Maybe we'll both learn from this and become better people. But for now, the wound is too fresh, the betrayal too raw. Trust takes years to build and seconds to destroy. And while I may heal with time, I'll never forget the moment she let doubt win. Thank you for watching. If you enjoyed this story and want to hear more, don't forget to like this video, share it with your friends, and subscribe to our channel for more incredible stories. Hit the bell icon so you never miss an update. We love hearing from you, so drop a comment below and let us know your thoughts. See you in the next one.